they do have the benefit of playing on the same day, so they can always study and potentially see what All Gamers is doing and see if that's something they could translate to use against a team like Q9 in their match tomorrow. However, though, they do have 4 games today, so Boss, they still have to put something confident up on the board if they do want to make it through to the bracket stage. Honestly, they're a team that could do it here. They've shown a lot of strength going into this. I don't know if they're necessarily going to beat All Gamers, but this is still a team that other teams should be looking out for. And also, it's something important to keep our mind on too, is how much these teams are going to study each other throughout these best of ones as well, because having a chance to see so many maps played one after another, you're really going to get a chance, if you're able to view some of these games as an outside team who's not playing currently, to study how teams are playing in this event and maybe even adapt to their current setups in the event. So that's something to keep in mind too, because those who do their homework, it really shines when it comes to having a confident defense and being able to sort of play around against teams' play styles.
Hopefully we'll be getting into this game very shortly, but I think a lot's been said about setting this one up. You've called it as a 10-5 score line coming through for All Gamers, so we're expecting a pretty dominant showing from them coming into this one. And I mean, our first game, of course, was very, very close, but the game we just had, Pacific Maxima up against Carbon, wasn't really that close at all. The first half was tight, but after that, Carbon couldn't really get anything done on their attacking side, so see how things are going to go in this one. All Gamers are starting on, are they defensive? I can't remember.
All Gamers is going to be on the defensive, so they're going to be playing that global risk side first, which does give Boss an advantage if they can have a confident start and control that momentum on their blacklist half. It is a map that tends to be blacklist sided, so I honestly think the first half is going to be a really good tell as to how this one's going to play out, because if Boss doesn't win the half, it's very rare to see a team lose that blacklist side and then somehow win it back on the global risk side, just because the blacklist side has tons of control plays that they can make on this map, and they usually have the best chance of coming out on top. But when you're up against All Gamers, it's really just a tough battle throughout. But something interesting I was looking ahead at is our next game is going to be equally interesting, I think, as well. We do have Pacific and Q9, which it's going to be a tough situation, I think, for that game as well, because, I mean, Q9, they're 0-1, and they're playing a very confident team that just took out Carbon. So Q9, I honestly think, after that loss, has probably the hardest schedule now, because after 1-0 Pacific Macta, they play All Gamers. So they have a really tough road ahead, and honestly, they have one of the harder schedules, I think, because I'd say if you're in the shoes of Q9, probably the team that's most comfortable for them to play and beat would be the likes of Carbon, and that's the last team they play. But if they go into that game already down, potentially 2 maps or maybe even a third loss, they could be looking at a very tough road ahead of them. But only time will tell. It's obviously a situation where we could see Pacific come out on top in that one. They've had a more confident showing so far, but again, it all starts with how they perform in this day one, because some of these teams, they've got 4 maps on the table today, and it's really just a situation where one bad day can ruin the event for you.
Particularly for Q9, 3 games today, so not 4. It could be worse for them, but if they have a bad day today, they're up against their 3 hardest opponents. So it's not like they can have a bad day and still cruise through based on aim strength or anything else. Maybe, you know, teamwork isn't there, or someone's not firing but the rest of the team will carry them. That's going to work against a lesser team than you. When you're playing your 3 hardest opponents up, sure, tomorrow maybe they've got some easier games. I'm not going to say easy, but maybe easier. But if you go down 0-3 or 1-2 against the best teams, then it's going to be a pretty tough fight back in for them tomorrow. So to keep track, I've just made a little table in my notebook so I can keep track of how many teams are on what wins and what losses, so we can keep an eye on that throughout the day, because I definitely wouldn't be able to do it mentally. But it's an interesting one. I think the draws are quite interesting for all of these teams. Boss's next game after this one, they're going to go up against Black Dragons. So if they can win this game, then potentially that game will be upset versus upset, and we'll see who can come through.
Yeah, and honestly, I think this game is a huge factor in how they will play in that game, because Boss, their team that I've seen, is very momentum-based. So if they fall here, Black Dragons is on a confidence high right now. I think if they fall here, Boss is going to have a really tough road ahead as well, starting off with both Chinese teams, and a team like Black Dragons is going to be pretty difficult for them. So they actually have a tough time ahead of them, but we'll see what they can do here. I mean, All Gamers, they've shown that they can be beat before. Q9, obviously, one of the few to make that happen. But again, All Gamers in the past, they weren't always one of the top teams in China as well. They struggled in the past to make it into larger events like Crossfire Stars. We didn't even see these guys in last year's grand finals at all. They didn't make it into the top 2 of China last year. So it's interesting to see we have 2 new teams emerge from China as dominant here. But so far, their performance is definitely up in the air. We'll see what they can do to try and progress forward. But honestly, it opens up a lot of opportunity, I think, for potentially a non-Chinese team to win this.
And this is what's really fun about having a round-robin bracket, is that the games that are coming up aren't reliant on any one team winning or losing. The games have been preset since before today started, and everyone knows who they're playing and in what order, which also means that, for example, we can look at this next game for Boss, which is them versus Black Dragons, and we can say, maybe that game, if we'd been in a different style of bracket, perhaps that game would only happen if both teams got upsets. But as it is, it's happening either way. So if Boss can run away with this win, we'll be able to compare, maybe here's the 2 teams who upset the Chinese teams. How are they going to play? Where are the non-Chinese teams sort of standing in this event? And then moving further on, later on today, we have All Gamers versus Q9. That one, I think, will be very interesting.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's probably one of the most anticipated matchups of our day 1 matches, because, I mean, it's basically a rematch of the CFPL Grand Finals from this last season, where it was a very close game. It was a 3-2 win for Q9 in a best-of-5, and when you have that best-of-1, I think that veto is going to be even more crucial for both of those teams, because in the back of the minds of those players, they're going to know what maps they won in that Grand Final, and if it's not one of those maps, both of those teams are probably going to be a bit nervous if they don't get the luck of that draw there.
In fairness, the Grand Final is all of the maps, but either way, best-of-5s will be interesting. And that one more comes down to the order of the maps when we do get to that point, I think. And I just realized you were referring to last season, so we're just going to move on from that. But still, that will be an interesting game. There's a lot of good ones on today, actually, and that's the fun of round robin. We get to see a nice little metric at the end of the group stage of how everyone's going to stack up heading into the semis, because no matter what matchups we get in the semis, we will have had them before in the group, so we'll be able to have a look and see how those teams are going. But moving our focus, perhaps, Kyle, back to the game that we have coming up of Boss versus All Gamers, which will hopefully be underway fairly soon. It's going to be on Black Widow, the first time that we've seen it. You said you think this one's going All Gamers' way. Let me put this question to you. Do you think there's a map that could have been better for Boss out of the 3 that were unbanned?
Honestly, I think either of the other 2 options would have been better for them. Black Widow is always notoriously a strong Chinese map, and All Gamers continue that tradition forward strong as well. I think Boss, they do play a strong Black Widow. I've seen them in the past play it, but when you're up against some of the best Black Widow players in the world, it's just not going to happen. But the potential is still there. I'd say outside of the Chinese region, Vietnam has a very strong Black Widow comparatively to where other regions, I'd say we'd be looking at, you know, maybe a 10-2, 10-1 here. And a lot of times in the past, we've seen that happen. Chinese teams winning 10-3, 10-4 consistently against outer regions on this map. However, though, there has been outliers that have upset teams of this nature on Black Widow before, so it's not to say it is impossible. They just have to bring their gameplay to a whole new level in order to make that happen. But Boss, they're definitely a confident team, and I think they could pull this one off if they really just have a confident first half, because they do have that more favorable half to start on. But like I said, it's going to be a good gauge in that first half to how this one's really going to play out, and maybe how they're overall going to perform in this entire event as well, because they're coming in as sort of one of the teams out of this group of teams that's probably got, as a unit, the least amount of live event experience.
That's something that will definitely play a factor coming into this environment where we are now, there's no audience. It's just the players, the stage, of course, all the lights and everything else. So it's still a pretty intimidating environment, but there's no one screaming when you do well or when you do poorly. It's not that whole environment. And that's an added pressure that will come when we get to the grand final with a couple thousand fans in attendance. These players will certainly feel every good play and every mistake when the crowd hurls it back at them. So a lot more pressure yet to be mounted on these teams. They do make it that far, but even just this environment, playing on LAN is always very different from playing in the comfort of your own home. Your teammates next to you, but you've also got your opponent sitting just meters away, and a lot of pressure to deliver.
Yeah, and honestly, even though there isn't an audience, at least they're not up against a team like Black Dragons, who is very animated. They're not afraid to stand up, yell at you from across the table.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, when you're staring at a team like All Gamers across from you, there's still a little bit of an intimidation factor there, knowing the history of this team on All Gamers, that it is a very, very strong team you're up against, and a team that you're going in. They've got to know that they are considerably favored to lose this matchup, so they definitely know it going into it, but they're still going to try and make it happen here. And It's just going to come down to individual performance. I think it's going to be a situation where all gamers, they're probably going to try and do what Q9 did on their first map as well and just test a team with aim duels right from the start. And we saw Black Dragons, they tested the aim duels, they lost the aim duels, but then they adjusted. And I think if Boss wants to win, they need to have that same approach of not being afraid to take aim duels, but learning how to adapt when that doesn't work.
Indeed be something that's very important. There was, as you said, in the Q9 game, a lot of testing early on, just running and trying to take those aim duels and see how confident their opponents were. And a map like Black Widow is certainly going to facilitate that. There's a lot of very fast aim duels that the attacking side can take if you want to. It's certainly a map that has very direct paths to conflict. You can go, if you're really confident, you can go effectively directly down mid and start fighting there. You can go up short or long A very quickly, or just straight out onto B. So onto that attacking side, if you do want to take those aim duels early, there's certainly a lot of chances for it. But again, there's also a lot of counter-aggression possible on the defensive side, on that global risk side. And we did see a bit of that in the last game coming through from Pacific Macta towards the end of their defensive half when they were really running away from Carbon. We did see them starting to push in, take the map control that Carbon wasn't, and then be able to punish them once the push came in. So depending on how confident all gamers are, we could see some of that here. What I'm not sure if we'll see is the 3 sniper setup that we had Carbon running on the last map, but I guess it is possible. In a map like Black Widow, you can run a sniper at A long, a sniper holding down mid, and then a sniper on B, or even you could do, if you really wanted to, 2 rifles on B, then sniper mid, sniper short A, sniper long A, if you really want to lock it down, but it's more of a, I think at most, double AWM map rather than 3.
Yeah, definitely Black Widow would be a lot of risk, especially if you're in 1 short and long A, but we'll see what they decide to do. Also, a lot of other rosters, I just don't think they have that accessibility where they have enough comfortable snipers to do that. Most of these teams walking into the event, they're usually just going to have 1 confident sniper, and they usually stick to that. Some teams do have an occasional off sniper, but honestly, Carbon's the only team I've seen that has potentially 4 people who can bring it out, Superman being the only one who will never bring out a sniper in a matchup. But we even saw just in 1 map, all 4 of those guys on Carbon, they brought out a sniper at some point. But that versatility definitely gave them a lot on their global risk side. But unfortunately, Carbon, they've got to adjust their blacklist side moving forward. Otherwise, it's just going to be a rough road ahead for them.
It did. And talking of off snipers, the secondary snipers, it's certainly, if you give a player with good aim a sniper rifle, they should be able to sit in the line, hold it, and get you 1 kill every time. That's no problem. The harder part of being a sniper is being able to reposition yourself, knowing what lines are favorable once you've taken a certain shot, knowing where you can be pressured, what timings you have to make. That sort of stuff is the hardest part, because you always hear people say, you know, oh, being a sniper is easy, just hold an angle and click. And for the first kill, that's true. It's locking it down after that when you have to be able to reposition confidently, know when it's safe to take another aggressive angle, where you should be falling back to, how far you should be falling back, and just how you can continue to have impact when the push is coming in, where it becomes very difficult if you're not already an established sniper player or one who's used to that sort of pressure. So I'm not surprised that these teams do come in with only the 1. It's a rare team that won't, so maybe just a single sniper is what we'll see on that global risk side here of Black Widow, but you know, we'll see. A lot of options here on the table for these 2 teams.
It looks like we are just about ready to hop into this one, and it is going to be still just best of 1s here. Just looking face to face though, honestly, these guys look pretty confident on the side of Boss. They don't seem distraught or anything just yet. A lot of confidence, high fives, getting ready to go into it. They know how important it is for them to potentially start off with 1-0 if they can make it happen. They've got the half to make it happen as well. Blacklist side, the more favored side on this map, so we'll see if it pans out for them, but definitely going to be a tough one ahead, and all gamers confident as ever going to this one.
Every reason to be as we get underway here on Black Widow. 3rd game of the day, Boss versus all gamers. And it's a very quick take out towards A long. Lucas getting up here with that sniper. There is an answering sniper in the hands of TF currently, but will be some quick pressure coming in from Boss. They're going to find that first pick as well. Shady gets a bit stuck on a teammate, but they still go 1 for 1.
And again, we see early A control coming into factor for all gamers, and this is where it forces Boss into a difficult situation. They either have to funnel into this fire over towards A or be forced to rotate off and go for a B execution. And as you see there, Reda taking a ton of damage, trying to re-peek there onto Even. He's the one who locked it down. Unfortunately, ZQ, he wasn't able to make anything happen in his position. playing in the back of barracks there A long, but now it is going to be a full rotation here over towards B.
Towards the site, this hold from AG in mid has to be excellent. They do have 3 players here, so potential for some info, but they're not hearing too much of this. The quiet rotation towards A long, and now Tees will be pushing here out to join Lucas, who's just been holding this angle for now, and everyone from All Gamers is setting up for a flank here if they continue to go up mid or out through B, but they're not going to be able to stop the cross onto the site just yet by the looks of things, unless he even gets in position, which he's looking to do, but it's going to be just him effectively against 5 players. His teammates not yet in position to help him. This needs to be a big round from Even.
Even he has the positioning to make it happen. He's going to be playing on the back of the A staircase, but Kale just pushes over the top and takes him out. And again, Boss look for another clean round here, but ZQ, he's coming for the support from Catwalk, finds himself a frag there onto Kale. Rida is very low, so it's still a doable retake here. If he can find this kill onto Shady, it's not going to happen, though. Shady finds himself a double kill, and it's all on K in a 1v3, but look at the HP on Shady and Rida. It's all going to be on Lucas here to really hold this off.
And in comes K. Now the first kill will be gifted to him. This grenade, if it lands towards Rida, could have been a kill, but the timing is only just off. Rida down in the spawn, won't go down, and will actually find that angle as well, managing to get the spray down. So that's 2 now for Boss on their blacklist side. They're going to be wanting a good half here, I'd say, if this is to get themselves off into a good start on their defensive side. You want to getting like 6 rounds here would be ideal, maybe even more, but we'll see. So far they've started off well with 2. This time though, it's All Gamers who'll get the opening advantage with Q stepping in and finding 2 frags, almost finding 1 frag, almost a second even.
Now again, we see AG going for early map control, but so far it actually has not worked out in their favor. Boss doing a good job of just playing passive and knowing that they are going to push out and using that against them. So if Boss can continue this forward, they may actually stand to take this half away from All Gamers, but still a long road left to make that a reality here. They have a tough road ahead already in this round as well at a disadvantage 5 on 4. And again, we see All Gamers playing these close corners over towards B. This time K goes for the wide peek and is punished. Again, All Gamers getting very aggressive here and getting punished for it. K goes down, and now it's a 4 on 4. Shady, though, just left on a little bit of health there to work with. So still a winnable round for either team, but AG, again, making the mistakes of getting a little bit too aggressive too soon here. But Boss, they have control of mid and B long here, but even he's playing on top of the boxes here with TMQ. They have 2 players here in the box room. They're going to lock it down as well. TMQ, beautiful double kill to hold that off. But we do see Ollie here finding 1 in mid. Rida, though, finds 1 on the retake here. He's going to work his way back into B, and he finds the double. That's a big opening, and now it's going to be a 2 on 1 for ZQ and a retake in front of him.
Rotating up the B ramp, coming into this bomb site. Might just make it in before the plant goes down, looking for the timing. Bomb has been planted, and now ZQ needs to try and find himself the 1v1 here, and he just needs one of these players to peek him. If he can get that clean headshot, he can work his way in, but right now he's in a very difficult 180-degree crossfire. It's a tough situation for him. Flash grenade will blind him up for a bit and slow him down. 22 seconds left, time wasting away. Boss playing this one very well. Neither player peeking until they both swing. That's 3 rounds in a stretch for them. We're in a run out of stretch. And they've started off very, very well so far. Not really being pressured. None of these rounds have been super close when it comes down to it. There's not been any super tense 1v1s. It's been